Luca Nation, episode 622, I believe, or 621 of Lucas Tigers and Bronzo Mai. Awesome episode. Dude, the break last night on Whatnot kind of I want to say it was fun, but it was more than fun. It was a good way to kind of connect with our audience again.
Community, man. Community's fun.
You did an amazing job. Ian was having a great time.
Had a blast. And we could do more stuff like that. We definitely should. It was nice to get our crew in there. Everybody can watch, even if you didn't get involved in the break. And it seems 24 hours later, we've again hooked up our audience with some value since, our breaks totaled under 10,000 for the box, and it looks like you can't buy a box for less than 15,000 today. It's amazing how these things are moving.
Do you think it's because low supply and a decent amount of demand?
Honestly, I think as people watch these things open, like even if people watched our break last night, they saw a 1 of 2 and 2 1 of 1s. Those are going to sell. That gold warm Wolverine, that's thousands of dollars now. Whoever got that in the break, they'll have that this week and they can sell it if they want to. Not to mention, if you look on Twitter and it's like, hey, legendary lemur, gold, blah, blah, blah. You see the person who owns one of those or several people who own the NFT are writing to Gary, hey, when that card is pulled, I'm totally going to grab that because that's the NFT I own. It's funny. I didn't think about this till after we opened it, but you know how the whole world went crazy because Drake is buying cards. Well, what if Drake was buying the cards we talked about on our show and you own them, right? What if, let's take it another step further. Remember when people went nuts when Giannis showed pictures of his cards, right? He's buying his own cards. He can't buy them all, right? But what if, when LeBron said, I own a couple of those, remember people went nuts. Well, now
LeBron only owns his own cards.
Right. So, but think about that. Those are NBA players who, okay, LeBron might buy a LeBron card, but he's probably not buying your 2018 Prism, right? But when you open this stuff up, you got a 235 card base set, I think it was, where each base card has 22 of them out there. Well, guess what? There are people who own those NFTs, and they want the card to go with the digital thing because that's theirs. They own it. It's like LeBron. They are the LeBron, the owner of the NFT of, the legendary lemur will pay money. And then think about this in a year, 2, whenever it is, when they have their V-Friend version 1, Series 1, their V-Friend Series 2, both legendary lemur, and they pair it up with, their VCon ticket and the card, they're selling a bundle that somebody else can't sell. It's just a cool little thing that I hadn't thought about.
Modern day completing a set.
Sort of, right? When you marry a digital and physical together, it's interesting stuff, man. It's just, it's another cool thing. It's something that if I were Panini and I were competing with Top Shot, it's cool to have a Top Shot moment, right, with a digital thing. But if you're going out there tonight, there's a PSA 10 Anthony Edwards on the PWCC auction, right? And it's like $100,000. They'll probably sell for way more than that. It's crazy. Anthony Edwards, not just LaMelo, gold, right? The gold out of 10, right? Well, if you're going to drop $200,000 on that, well, maybe you spend the $2,000, $3,000, or $4,000 that the digital version out of 10 is going to cost you. And now you got both, because if the digital catches on, well, in 10 years or 5 years, when Edwards turns into, a great player and digital has more traction, you have the matching set. You have the digital and physical.
And these people who own the V-Friends, I mean, some of them are sitting at a floor of 16 ETH, which is what, about 40,000?
Yeah.
So to them, buying a card, even a base version of their card, let's not even go to the high-end stuff.
Right, $1,000. It's nothing.
It's kind of a no-brainer. All right, well, and you know what? With this whole release, I thought there was going to be a lot more negativity. I got to tell the hobby, good job because they've learned. What I think we could do better at is, even if we don't agree with something a release, a product, something that's doing well, we don't have to necessarily bash it either, right? We can still be happy for other people and realize that this hobby needs all of us. And I think it's fair to say the hobby does better. It has more excitement when you have the Gary V's, the Drakes, Steve Aoki, DJ Ski, all the way down the road, wanting to spend money in the hobby. I think it is better. And I don't even agree with all this stuff they do, but I do think it's better collectively.
Well, you know what I think about? Think of the last week. Ape coin was dropped, and people who own the apes, they got these coins, and they've made money. And they're, whether it's $11, $15, $7, there are people who are getting if you own an ape, you're getting a 6-figure drop of money. And you know what they're doing with that? They're buying more apes. They're buying more NFT worlds. They're putting the money back into the ecosystem. And I laugh, and I'm like, it's free money. Think about this. If you were smart enough, gambler enough, if you were one of the people who said, I'm going to take a shot on Josh Luber and Gary V, because Gary V has paid off every single time so far, I'm going to spend $2,150 on the box. You were one of the 800 people who did it. Well, now that box is worth $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. That's 800 people who laid out $2,000 and now have $8,000, $10,000 in profit 800 times over to do what? You would think to put back into the card economy, right? To put back into the flow of cards. And, with NFTs, you see the prices go up. You see the ape prices went down to 75 and they're back up over 100 for the apes. You see World of Women start to go back up. You see V-Friends start to go back up. When there's more money and it's in the ecosystem, it causes prices to go up. And I have a feeling that, just don't look any further than Shyway Vlogs, who bought a box and made a joke about how, hey, V-Friend guys, who wants to buy this? $10,000. I'm going to do the old distributor way. I'm going to jack up the price and make it $10,000. And at the time he put that story up, they were selling for about 4 or 5 or 6. So it was a yuck joke. But guess what? He got his 10. And what do you think he did with it? He went out and bought a card. So that's the fun stuff, right? That's what you expect to see. That's, we've said this a bunch of times. Gary puts butts in the seats. But this Gary Luber combo, what it has done is, I believe, and we've only seen the beginning of this, it's made money to put more money back into this ecosystem. So, positive. Yeah.
Kind of interesting, man. You talk a lot about, don't necessarily buy what you love, buy what other people are buying or buy what they love. Acuna, been injured. He's shown flashes, but you can't say that he's, burst onto the scene like Soto and Tatis. He's a distant third. Yet his market isn't down. They just shipped out Freddie Freeman. Freddie talked about how they only called him twice. They did offer him a big contract, but they only called him twice, and that was kind of upsetting to him. So,
can't just offer people money now. You have to offer money and stroke their ego. This is a new generation, folks. When you're 32 years old, you got to handle these 32-year-olds differently now.
We can discuss that. I mean, people want to be wanted, and at the same time, you look at the Braves, they're owned by the media group. They're not like this, small business vibe of organization where, the owner cares a ton.
Yep.
But my point is this kind of a season for Acuna to kind of burst onto the scene? It's his opportunity to shine.
Cuts both ways, right? So here's the thing on Acuna. And we talked about on our collectible show, we talked about that Acuna card being kind of like a bellwether, and it got a buyout offer this week. It actually got 2 buyout offers this week. So the Acuna thing can cut both ways. One, like Soto, he now has a ring. Soto didn't win the MVP, but at least he played, hit home runs, and could have won the MVP in that World Series. He definitely could have. Acuna got a ring, was out half the year, and never played in any of the playoff games. So it's almost like a bubble championship. You know what I mean? Where, sure, he's got a ring, but is it really his ring? The team actually was... Yeah, the team was actually better without him. So he's got a ring that helps. You know what that does. That provides, for career numbers, for career, historical counting, you name it. Looking back, you have to say, all right, he's got a championship. He already has one more ring than Mike Trout has. Can't take it away, right? Can't take it away. But that Braves team, everything broke right for them last year. Everything broke right? They were one of the worst records in the playoffs. And they had a run, and they got momentum. And you're only as good as your momentum's only as good as your next day's starting pitcher, and all that other fun stuff. They won. Freddie Freeman was a huge part of that lineup. And yes, they made a move. And yes, Matt Olson is a real good replacement. Real good. He's not the clubhouse guy that Freddie Freeman is, but if Freddie came back and was going to be angry anyway because he didn't think his ego was stroked enough, and who knows what the clubhouse was going to be, it can cut both ways. One, I don't think the Braves are going to be as good without Freddie Freeman. I like Olson, but I think obviously they've taken a step back. They also had to trade away some of their prospects. Christian Pache, they traded away a lot of their up and comers. We'll see how good they are. And remember, they're going to be the returning champs. So why it cuts the other way is because they're the returning champs without Freddie Freeman. If Acuna somehow manages to put up the 40-40 numbers that people thought he was going to put up last year, that people think he's capable of putting up every year, and takes them on a playoff run, right, and somehow happens to win, now he's got 2 rings. You know what I mean? Now it's his team. It's unquestionably his team. It's not Freddie Freeman's team. He owns the success, but by the same token, he's going to own the failure.
In this scenario, coming off an injury with all of these moving pieces, I feel like his downside is lower than his upside by a lot. Because if he does step up, even if we talk the first quarter of the season and plays really well, people are like, whoa,
Yep.
If he doesn't, there's that excuse. Well, he's just coming off of an injury, and I think that gives you a real opportunity to speculate. Like if there was a guy that I would be having fun speculating and, maybe being able to double or triple my money, it is Acuna, because if he does come out the first month, so I just looked, he might come back as a designated hitter.
That too. New in the National League. That's awesome.
Right. So he might come back as a designated hitter at the end of April. Okay. So you have a little bit of a lead up, a little bit of a hype opportunity with him. If he even has a good first month, let's take it into May. I think there's some opportunity with his cards. He's a fan favorite. He has tons of potential. People love him. People are invested in him. You see the buyout offer on Collectible. My play today is Acuna from a speculation standpoint, because if it doesn't break for him, there's a ton of excuses. If it does, it's his team now. And I think that's kind of cool. You rarely get those opportunities.
I like it. I mean, we are in the business of trying to find something that has more upside than downside, and I think you're right. I think he does. We loved him last year. He got hurt. The lineup is still great. He, he's got a lot of baseball ahead of him, and he's that rare combination of, athletic ability that gives you the power and the speed. I mean, he probably won't get 40-40 this year because he's not going to be playing the full season. It looks like he's going to miss the first couple weeks.
Is it a full season? Still
yeah,
they're
playing
162 games?
162, yep. They'll probably extend it a little longer, or maybe they'll take away some, off days and stuff here and there. I like it. We could talk baseball. We'll definitely do a baseball, preview. I think they're starting April 7th or something like that. So we have quite a few weeks. I'll do my research. I will tell you right now, I'm fading the Giants. I think the Dodgers just because they just overperformed last year. Remember, they were my pick, and they had more wins than anybody in the majors last year. I think that the Dodgers are going to just walk through that division. You got Tatis injured now, for 3 months. You got, the Giants are not going to be as good as they were last year. Everybody performed well. Like everybody did, everything broke right for them. I think the Dodgers just, dominate. I got to tell you, and we're not doing our baseball stuff here, but the Twins are playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers out there.
Why? You said that today. Why?
The Twins just signed Correa. They signed Carlos Correa. But did you see the deal they gave him? They gave him a 3-year deal for like $105 million. Everybody's saying he's going to sign a Seager-type deal for like 10 years and $300-something million. So he got his money. He got his $35 million. And remember, I said this was going to happen, right? So here's the fun, right? The behind baseball, the inside baseball that people don't talk about. Correa had a different agent before the break, before the lockout. He moved over to Boris. And the way this works with agents, just like with lawyers, right, is if an agent gets you a deal or an offer, right, they're entitled to a piece of it. They're entitled to a percentage of it, right? So he had offers on the table, I believe, for long-term deals before the work stoppage. He went over to Boris. Now, if he took an offer similar to what was on the table, Boris wouldn't get paid because the old agents would have sort of like a lien because they negotiated and got him the same amount of money. Boris didn't add anything extra to it. But by doing a deal like this,
money?
So by
For
doing a
his
deal like this,
agent?
I'm pretty sure I'll have to look at him. I'm pretty sure that there's a 1-year opt out on this deal. So he gets his $35 million basically for the first year. And if he knocks it out of the park, he comes back to free agency next year when there's not as many people out there. The salary cap is, more. They're expanding, you name it, the whole deal. And there's teams that are looking to spend money again, especially if he's coming off a great year. If he doesn't, he's got another 2 years on the contract that he can lock in there with the Twins. But basically, he opts out after a year. Boris starts from scratch, signs him a 10-year deal, $300 million, and Boris gets paid. So it's an interesting kind of like one of those things you don't think about. I'm surprised that a team like the Yankees, I know that's my team, or a team like, the Red Sox have Bogarts and Devers on that side of the infield, but the Yankees have been saying all along the reason why they're not going to make a big splash at shortstop was because they only need a stopgap, right? Volpe's up in a year or two. Well, if Correa was ready to sign a 1-year contract, go for it. And here's the best part. You ready? Why I say Minnesota's playing checkers when everybody else, Minnesota playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers. I have a feeling they're not good enough to go for it this year. Their pitching's terrible, right? Yeah, they just grabbed, Sanchez from us and Urshela, but they lost Donaldson, right? They did a little money saving on that, but they're not ready to go for it. But you know what they can do now? They can let Correa play for a half a year for them, right? And when the trade deadline's approaching, they can trade him.
He has such a good contract to be tradable.
He becomes such a huge asset to a team that is now, the Dodgers or, whoever it is that's making a run towards the playoffs, that's going to give a package of prospects to Minnesota to take Correa, and that team only has to pay him for a half a season, and he gets the benefit of probably picking what team he gets traded to make a run to maybe win a ring at the end of the year. It's just, it's smart baseball. It's smart transactions. It's good maneuvering by a GM. And here I am sitting, with the Yankees watching them, sign sign Anthony Rizzo, making Luke Voigt expendable. So they just trade him for like a used pitching machine and like a batting cage net. You get like a bag of balls for the guy. There are teams out there, the Tampa Bay Rays every year, but there are just teams out there that seem to make moves that are going to better their teams. And then there's other teams like the Yankees who, all of a sudden they're penny pinching. And it's amazing to say that with a $220 million, payroll, but they haven't got that big splash. They did it with Garrett Cole, I think they hamstrung themselves with Giancarlo Stanton. And it was a good move when they made it because he was coming off that 50 home run MVP year, and everybody thought, pair him up with Aaron Judge, it's going to be great. But, they missed out on potentially trying to sign Bryce Harper, who would have been amazing there with the short porch. And, Carlos Correa, that's tailor-made there. They haven't had a good shortstop since Jeter.
I really like the Phillies signing, Castellanos.
Phillies, yeah, Castellanos.
Let's talk about 3 more teams: Phillies,
Shoot.
Mariners, and Angels. Give me your takes on them. We'll do a full-on MLB season preview. Let's start with the Phillies. You think they have enough?
Well, yeah, I think Bryce Harper could win another MVP this year. So Harper would be one of my plays. I am doing, guys, if you want to get a head start.
He's so underappreciated, right?
Deep dive. I'll have to, when I do it, I'll give credit to our audience. A couple of audience members, talk about Harper. But Harper's amazing. And he's got some really good low pop cards that sell for so much less than like what Trout would sell for, right? Harper's, he's won the MVP, and I think he's young enough and good enough where, he has a couple more seasons like that. He makes a run at some counting stats. And his cards, it's odd the ones that I would tell you to go for, but he's got some cards and they really just don't sell for a lot. We talked about the 2012 Prism. But there are some other ones that I will bring up and give as a play. I like Philly, man. I do. I like Philly. They've made some good moves. Castellanos is great. Talk about a lineup.
Surprise you if Harper came out the gate just
mashing? No.
Kind of riding last year's momentum into the season.
No, I think he's one of the best players in the league. People just don't like him. But you know what? People come around. If you put up, repeat 50 home run seasons, you know what I mean? You put up MVP numbers for a bunch of years in a row. All of a sudden, it's harder to hate somebody like that. It just is because, if you just consistently mash, that's the deal.
29 years old.
He's
Entering his
young,
prime.
man. He's young. He's really young. So we'll see. Harper, I like Phillies. The Mariners, they made some interesting moves. Like, Kyle Lewis is like the odd man out, but they signed another outfielder. They continue to sign outfielders. They got a lot of young guys. I don't think this is the Mariners' year. But we're going to see whether or not J-Rod comes up and plays the way everybody expects him to play. We're going to see if Jared Kelenic is going to be the player. Not on paper, they should be the best team in the American League in a year and a half, 2 years. But not every prospect pans out the way they're supposed to, right? If all the prospects panned out the way they're supposed to, the Mets would have won a million World Series in the last 2 decades because, Matt Harvey and Noah Syndergaard and Jacob deGrom should have been an unstoppable trio. But, Matt Harvey was busy, doing his thing. You know what I mean?
What happened with Matt Harvey?
I think it was a substance abuse problem. So, and, he got traded and, there was, yes, exactly. He was a coffee addict, caffeine addict. But, or if you go back even further, you go to like Bill Pulsifer and Jason Isringhausen and, other Met players that were can't miss, but found a way to miss. So it remains to be seen. I love the young talent. And it's funny. You got the Phillies who have these players that are MVP level players already there. Their lineup is great. They add to them. You have Seattle, who is all youngsters. It's like potential energy. Turn into kinetic, right? You have the kinetic energy already on the Phillies. The Angels are kind of in between, right? Because I love their Ohtani, Trout, Rendon trio. That middle of the line up there, if those guys stay healthy, that's amazing. But it won't be enough unless the pitching does some stuff. And they have some pitchers. They have some pitchers. Unless the pitching does some stuff. And maybe a Joe Adele or somebody else on the team also steps up and plays a role, then they can be dangerous, right? I don't think that their big three is good enough to win a championship this year because just look at some of the lineups that are out there. The Dodgers lineup has A.J. Pollock and Bellinger in their bottom three. Pollock, before coming to the Dodgers, was a number 3 hitter on a playoff team, and Bellinger has won an MVP. Those guys can't even crack the top 6 in the Dodgers lineup. Dodgers lineup, the lineup is like a lineup I've never seen, a 1 to 9 like that. And I've seen some mashing Yankee lineups. That lineup is going to be impossible for pitchers to get through.
Syndergaard is on the Angels?
Yeah, but he's one who has to stay healthy. Do you think
people know that?
A lot of people don't. But when people do these, these fantasy guys know it. But Syndergaard could be great. He just has to stay healthy. And that's been difficult for him.
All right, brother. So we're talking a little baseball. It's nice. It's right around the corner. We're 2 weeks out, maybe even less.
I'm going to stick with baseball for my play, by the way. And but before I jump into that, guys, I have to say a huge thank you. Not just for our break yesterday, which was amazing to see 150 people in there on whatnot. Makes us look good, guys. Thank you. We appreciate that. I have to say thank you, and we can talk, I guess, on Discord whether or not we should do another Whatnot show tomorrow, or maybe that was our weekly show. We'll figure it out. Maybe I get to sleep in on a Sunday. Woo! Hadn't done that in 6 months.
Show, man. That was a big show.
So we got that. I don't know if the Discord guys want me to jump on and have some fun and sell some crap. Maybe I will. We'll see. I always leave, but not to take myself off course. We get a lot of messages saying how, it's amazing that we do this. People don't know how we do this stuff. People don't know how we show up every day and put content out there. A lot of thank yous for us and that kind of stuff. Got one today. It was, a belated holiday gift from Tony Harley, who, we've mentioned on the show a couple of times. That was our marathon man. When he found us a couple months into the show, he did 100 episodes in like a month. He was just listening and listening and listening. And he's like, I got to get caught up. I got to listen to all these episodes. And sent us a really nice note. Long note, Tony, but we read it all. We promise. And, some cards for Ian and stuff like that. And this is not me asking for that. Not at all. It's me being, grateful for that. It was a very thoughtful thing. We definitely appreciate that. And, the note was real, personal stuff, real like thank you to us and real like, hey, get you through COVID times, providing content and being there when there's uncertainty that we provided certainty. But what's amazing about it is, and I wrote back a little note to Tony, but I'll share it with you guys, parts of it, that as much as you guys want to say thank you to us, we have to thank you, right? Because I will tell you, there are days, I don't want to speak for Andrew, but I'm sure he feels the same way. There are days where it's harder to do this than others. You don't feel well, you're sick, you're losing your voice, you had a bad day at work. That's not Andrew. Hey, I had a bad day at work. You had some bad gummies. That is Andrew. You just don't feel right. You don't feel like doing it, right? I had one of those days, actually. I had one of those days about, a couple hundred episodes in where I didn't want to show up. And I got a message from this dude, Tony, who said he happened on us during a bad patch, a bad run in life. And, we're getting him through. We're getting him through a bad day, bad week. And he's going to listen to, 30 more episodes over the weekend, binge listening like it's a Netflix show. And I say, if this dude's going to dedicate that much time and this dude's going to, wait to hear what we say next, the least I could do is show up and talk and have some fun for 35 minutes. You know what I mean? And show up and
it's a
do
sense
my
of
stuff.
Responsibility, right? Like,
but
we've had the fortune of, having sponsors, but we had the fortune of people tuning in and sharing their time with us. And
yeah, man.
Even those days where you don't want to show up, you still kind of feel a sense of responsibility. Like, how can I bring my best self today?
To me, it's a privilege. It really is. And it's become a part of, my identity, which is amazing to think of, going through life for 43 plus years and then starting this after that. I think I've said this on the show, but my son says, one day I'm going to write a book about you, Dad. And I'm like, oh, really? What are you going to say? And, I spent a lot of money and a lot of years in school, and I've, practiced law for over 2 decades now. And he says, well, I'm going to say it's the story of Cage Lawyer, the podcaster. Now, that's not what I went to school for. That is not what I spent the vast majority of my life doing. But that's what he sees. And that's, I guess, from a kid's perspective, what he sees me having fun doing, having the most fun doing. So we got to thank you today. But in truth, what I should be doing is thanking you guys more. Every person who's listening to this, every person who's watching this on YouTube, because it's because of you guys that we're able to do this. And I'm able to, come out, chat, talk about stuff that I love, share some stuff. I love the message we're getting this week about the goats episode, the buying the goats and stuff. I mean, there are people out there who like to collect the way that we collect, who like to, listen to me wax philosophical about, old players and old cards. So anyway, big thank you to Tony. Big thank you to all of you guys.
Now I'm in my feelings.
Good. Get in your feelings, Drake.
Can you give me a fair trade?
A fair trade of what?
Well, I mean, I want to play here. You got to play for me?
I have a play. I have one.
one?
I have a very good play. So, guys, you guys all know I talk about cardboard relevance. I talk about like baseball plays. And if you've listened to any of our episodes, I don't think I've gone a week in the last year without talking about Topps Tiffany, which is funny because it doesn't really exist, right? It wasn't called Tiffany. It's called that now, which is kind of like a fancy Topps glossy factory set. But I talk about like the junk era, and I talk about like, if you want to collect a certain guy, you grab that Tiffany card of theirs, right? Even Ricky Henderson doesn't have a rookie, but if you like Ricky Henderson, buy the 85 Topps Tiffany or an 86 Topps Tiffany. If you like Cal Ripken, go buy his 85 or his 87 with the wood border. If you like McGuire, buy the Topps Tiffany. Hell, if you're a rookie collector, that Bo Jackson from 86 Topps traded, the Barry Bonds from 86 Topps traded, Greg Maddux card, right? There are all these awesome Topps Tiffany cards. And if you're a Griffey collector and you don't want to do, the 89 upper deck, his 89 Bowman Tiffany is real rare, real hard to get in PSA 10. I'm pretty sure it's like a $20,000 card now, which is just nuts because obviously, this is the junk era. So I was going to go buy every one of these that I could and then give it to you as a play because I'm a pumper. No dump, but pump. But I didn't do it. I only have one. and I took it out so I could show it to you guys. It's another way of playing that junk era with what's going to be a low pop, rare, parallel type set like Tiffany. And it has a little bit of like, a fun USA type thing to it. Anyway, guys, take a look. 91 wasn't the year for many rookies. And if you're a rookie collector and Chipper Jones is your guy, this card is not going to be cheap. And Andrew, if you wanted to pull up Card Ladder, you can if you wanted to for me. Guys, the 1991 Topps, just like there's war going on now, we were involved in a little bit of a conflict. It was called Desert Shield. Okay? And there are Desert
Shield. The first thing that came up here, Cage?
What, 1991 Topps Desert Shield?
Yep. So Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds.
No, pull up Chipper Jones on Card Ladder. Well, I'm not surprised it's the first thing that came up because 91 Topps, there's nothing else that's going to be worthy of Card Ladder because everything is just junk. But that's what makes this interesting, right? 91 Topps Chipper Jones. In PSA 10, I guarantee you is a 5-figure card. Well into the 5 figures, I'll bet. So, guys, I'll show you the card. It looks.
I'm not sharing my screen. I apologize, Cage.
The one I have is Roger Clemens. Right, so if you're a Clemens guy, this is a cool card. The 91, check it out. He's next to the Green Monster. This is obviously we're still with the Red Sox. It says strikeout there, right next to the Green Monster, which is a really cool looking card. And you'll see
this
on
card
the
right
Desert.
Here, right, Cage?
Yes. So on the Desert Shield, does that say Desert Shield on it? Oh no, no, that's just a regular card. It has to actually say Desert Shield. That's just his regular card. But on the Desert Shield card, you'll see, guys, gold foil. It's got the Desert Shield logo, which you can kind of see it right there, a little gold right there. And it'll say on the slab, Desert Shield. There you go. How much in PSA 10?
What is
Not
with these
PG.
photos? Really tiny.
I don't know, but I'm be curious what the PSA 10 sells for a Card Ladder. Anyway, guys,
$900.
No, that's got to be like a 5. $900. Card Ladder is not the easiest thing to use for Andrew. Too many Mike Tyson and Vander Holyfield ear gummies today, I guess.
$13,000 for the PSA 10.
There you go. That's cheap. I'll bet you. That's actually pretty cheap. The Card Ladder says 18,000 right there. 13. I might buy that at 13. So what's the pop? Click a card out of the way. There's a golden auction. Does it even give you the pop on it? I don't even know. It's a golden auction. Card Ladder value is $18,000. I can pull the pop-up on these. It's very low. So, guys, 91 Topps, everything was printed like crazy. There's a picture of the Topps warehouse in 1991 with just basically like, it looks like the end scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they put the Ark away, and it's just like Topps cases. You know you can pull up that might also be a good one, because it's only like 20? There's a Ken Griffey Jr. in the same set, right? So if you're a Griffey collector, I don't own this. One just came up for auction. It might have been in the last golden auction. And it definitely sold for over $20,000, I think. The Ken Griffey Jr. of the same 1991 Topps Desert Shield. A lot of people don't even know this set exists, right? But it is a cool, there you go, Desert Shield Ken Griffey Jr. right on top there. But you need to find like the PSA 10. It's a real cool card, and it's a way of playing like 90s baseball where you really can't. There's not much else in like late 80s junk wax era baseball. But this, like Tiffany, is another cool way of playing. There you go. So there's the Desert Shield. That's a Gem Mint 10. See the little gold foil behind his head there? That says Desert Shield. What do they got the Card Ladder value on this? Probably about $21,000. People don't even know these exist. But look at that chart. It has a little spike, but doesn't have the dip. And it continues to spike. It's these cards in the right player, right? Collectible players are exactly what we're talking about. They are these slow climbers over time. And this is a card where if you came into the hobby, a couple years ago and bought it, it was probably $2,000-$3,000, and now it's 21. And it's not a rookie. It doesn't have to be a rookie. It's not exactly what you would call a numbered card. There are plenty of these. There's just not plenty of them I want to say plenty. These were given out, by the way, to the soldiers. So that's part of the reason
31 PSA 10s of Chipper Jones.
31 Chipper. So that's his rookie. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a great player, and to have only 31 10s, same thing. See the chart a little down and then a little heading back up. It's an impossible card to find. There are BGS 95s. of these guys because people were using BGS on these cards 100%. But it's just a cool little like a variant way to play your guy. If you happen to be like I am, I don't even know what this is worth. I think I bought this a couple years ago, and I think I paid like $250 for it. Now the regular 91 tops is $1. It's $1 for the card, but the PSA 10. Now, if your guy is McGuire, grab a McGuire. If your guy is Ripken, grab a Ripken. Maddox, you name it. You understand what Bo Jackson? I can only imagine how much the Bo Jackson sells for. These cards, price-wise, scarcity-wise, collectability-wise, for someone my age, they're actually in sort of like the same category as like the 93 finest refractors. The Nolan Ryans are probably also a bit of money in high grades. So take a look, guys. It's just one of those sneaky baseball plays that, if you just got into the hobby in the last 5 years and you chase around kabooms and color blasts like you're a dog smelling another dog's ass or PMGs, you don't even know that these things exist. You're just too busy tasting pizza and stories. So I'm here to give you this. I'm here to tell you there are ways to invest in your player that you like, in the GOATs, in these guys that people are not in yet. But take a look at those charts. That Griffey card, if you happen to get one, it's not going down. There's more than 20 people who are going to want that card.
How did that catch on? How did that
catch on? Desert
how
Shield?
did that card? Yeah.
You mean the Griffey itself or just the card itself?
The fact that these were given out to soldiers.
I mean, it was a big story, obviously. These are cards that, Topps made. They were opening them up, and obviously a lot of them got thrown out. So what's cool about it is, you'll research it. I like cards like this that have that little layer, that little extra thing to it, right? We talked about like the 33 Gaudy missing card 106 of the 240 card set. That was Napoleon Lajoie, right? And why it's a scarcity, why that card is a 6-figure card in high grade. And it's the hardest part of the set to fill is because people who tried to build the set couldn't build the set. They wrote letters to Gaudy and said, hey, where's card 106? And the year after, in 1934, Gaudy sent them in the mail that card to complete their sets. So it's a cool baseball card story. The Honus Wagner, that's a story. Why is it so rare? He didn't like tobacco. He couldn't figure out a contract with them. You don't know, but boom, it's a story. The 52 Topps getting dumped in the river. Story. You know what I mean? Like Topps Tiffany, they were just factory sets that no one gave a shit about. But because they were factory sets, they were banged around in hobby stores in the corners, so it's hard to get them in great shape. These were in the Middle East, with soldiers who probably when they packed to come home weren't like, oh, let me pack my Bobby Bonilla. And if they did, they put it in with some bullets, a couple of MREs, and they weren't worried about the corners. So it's not the easiest thing to find. There are sealed boxes of this that sell for a pretty penny because people want to get the 32nd Chipper Jones Desert Shield rookie. So anyway, it's just an interesting, another kind of story that's out there of junk wax. I'm a fan of junk wax because just like now, there are more collectors during that time than there ever were before. And these are the cards I remember. The picture on this Clemens, look at that. You see this thing?
It's a cool card.
That's cool.
It's a very cool card.
Him leaning on the green. But the card itself is not collectible. This is a way to make it a collectible card because it's rare. You know what I mean? It's rare and high grade. So just a fun one. Can't believe we haven't really talked about it, more because it's right in the wheelhouse of the kind of junk wax, stuff that I collect. And you could still, I haven't looked, but I'm sure you could still buy stars and semi-stars for a decent amount of money. And if you're okay with a PSA 9, you definitely get them without a problem. So, what do you think? Stupid?
I don't think that's stupid at all. I think it checks all the boxes. Story, GOATs, low pop. I think it checks all the boxes, Cage. I didn't even know.
Surprising, right? Well, that's cool. That is part of what we try to bring, a little bit of storytelling. A lot of people don't know that card exists, and they definitely don't know that there are several cards in the set that sell for 5 figures. Chipper Jones, look at that.
Let's get this episode up tonight, and tomorrow we'll be back with a fractional report. Last week before Mint Collective. A lot of fun stuff coming up, and we're kind of entering into spring. with that comes more traveling, more shows, more activities, and nationals right around the corner. So very much looking forward to like kind of the second heading into like what is it the second quarter of the year,
Yep.
so to speak.
Yeah, we'll be there before you know it. People got to pay their taxes. We'll see how that shakes out in the hobby, whether or not people getting their tax money back. Maybe people getting a refund, spend some money on cards. Boom. All right, guys, we will talk to you tomorrow. And thank you all again.